A tomb guard burst through the ER doors at midnight, rain-slicked and blood-drenched, cradling a limp 10-year-old girl like she was the last flag on a battlefield. Her tiny chest hitched with shallow breaths, crimson soaking his crisp navy uniform from collar to boots. Nurses froze midship. The security guard's hand flew to his radio and whispers exploded. What the hell is that blood? Hers? Cops swarmed in seconds, badges, flashing guns half drawn, barking. Hands up, soldier. Step away from the kid now. He didn't flinch, just later, gentle on the gurney voice, steady as a salute. Abdominal trauma. She's coding. Move. They cuffed him anyway, dragging the giant in white gloves to a back room while the girl willed to surgery. To them, he was just some armed stranger playing hero gone wrong. But what the badges didn't know, what even the docs patching her up couldn't guess, was that this silent sentinel had guarded America's unknown dead for years. And the ghosts watching from the shadows knew he'd just cheated death one more time. Before we dive into this story, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe that values like honor, courage, and sacrifice still matter, join us in keeping their legacy alive. In the shadow of Arlington National Cemetery, where the ghosts of America's fallen whispered through the marble headstones, a different kind of silence hung heavy that rainy night in Washington, D.C. It was just past midnight on a sticky October evening, the kind where the humidity clings to your skin like a bad memory. Sergeant Jack Harlan stepped away from the tomb of the unknown soldier, his boots sinking slightly into the dewish grass as he ended his shift. At 32, Jack was built like the monuments around him, tall, broad-shouldered, with a kind of quiet strength that came from years of holding a perfect rifle salute through blizzards and heat waves. His navy blue uniform jacket, crisp as ever, bore the silver insignia of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. The white gloves on his hands were spotless, his black leather shoes polished to a mirror shine. But beneath the ceremony, Jack carried the weight of 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, where the silence wasn't just duty, it was survival. The rain started as a drizzle, pattering against the leaves like distant gunfire. But it picked up fast, turning the paths into slick rivers. Jack didn't mind. After a 12-hour vigil, walking home through the cemetery grounds was his ritual, a way to shake off the echoes of the day. No phone in his pocket, regs forbade it during guard duty, and no rush. The city lights flickered in the distance, the Potomac River a dark ribbon under the Washington Monument's glow. He cut through a side path near the Kennedy gravesite, the air thick with the scent of wet earth and magnolia. That's when he heard it. A small, ragged sound, like a kitten caught in a storm drain, but sharper, more human. A whimper cut off by a gasp. Jack froze, his training kicking in like an old reflex, ears straining over the rain's steady drum. He scanned the shadows along the row iron fence that bordered the park adjacent to Arlington. Nothing but swaying branches at first, then movement. A tiny form huddled in the underbrush, half hidden by overgrown ferns. He approached slow, boots silent on the mud, one hand instinctively hovering near the bayonet sheath on his belt. "Hey in there, you okay?" No answer, just another weak sob. Jack pushed aside the branches, rain dripping from his kepi hat onto his collar. There she was, a girl, no more than 10, curled up like she'd been tossed aside. Emily Thompson, though he didn't know her name yet. Her curly hair matted with mud and blood, her pink raincoat shredded at the sleeves. One arm dangled at a wrong angle, bone poking white against bruised skin. And the blood god. The blood seeping from a gash low on her side, soaking her jeans, dark and sticky. Her face was pale as the moon filtering through clouds, eyes fluttering half open, lips moving without sound. Jack dropped to one knee, the mud soaking through his trousers without a second thought. "Kid, hey kid, look at me." He pressed 2 gloved fingers to her neck, pulse ready. But there, shallow breaths, clammy skin, shock setting in fast. His mind flipped to combat medic mode, the lessons from Fort Benning drilled deep. Airway, bleeding, Shock. Control the bleed first. He stripped off his white gloves, stuffing them against the wound to staunch the flow. She winced, a tiny mule escaping, but didn't wake fully. Hang on, sweetheart. Uncle Jack's got you. No time for 911. Nearest phone was a payphone blocks away, and she didn't have minutes. The hospital was 6 blocks. George Washington University Medical Center. In the sandbox, you'd carry your buddy if the chopper was delayed. You moved. Scooping her up was easy. She weighed next to nothing, all bones and fear. He cradled her against his chest, her head lolling on his shoulder, blood smearing his uniform jacket like war paint. Rain hammered down now, blurring his vision, but Jack broke into a jog, boots splashing through puddles. The cemetery gates loomed, then the empty streets of D.C., sodium lamps casting long shadows. His arms burned after 2 blocks, lungs pulling air in sharp bursts, but he pushed on. Stay with me, kid. Almost there. Her breast came in hitches against his neck, warm and fading. Sirens wailed somewhere distant, but not for them. Just the rain, the rhythm of his steps, and the girl fighting for every heartbeat. By the time the ER's red neon sign glowed ahead, Jack's shirt clung wet and bloody under his jacket, his kepi tilted back, sweat mixing with rainwater on his brow. He kicked open the ambulance bay door with one boot, bursting into the fluorescent glare like a storm breaking. The automatic doors whooshed shut behind him, sealing out the rain, but trapping the chaos inside. The ER waiting room at George Washington University Hospital was a ghost town at 1 a.m. A couple of drunks slumped in chairs, a nurse flipping through charts at the desk, the security guard dozing by the vending machines. But everything stopped when Jack Harlan stepped in. Water pulled at his feet from his soaked uniform, the girl's blood dripping in fat black plops onto the linoleum. Heads snapped up. The receptionist froze mid-sip. The nurse dropped her pen. The guard bolted upright, hand on his radio. Trauma team, now. Jack's voice cut through the stunned silence. Bark of command honed from drill fields and foxholes. He strode to the triage desk, Emily cradled secure in his arms, her weight an anchor keeping him steady. Female, 10 years old, stab wound to the abdomen, possible internal bleeding, broken arm, signs of shock. I've got pressure on the wound. Move. The triage nurse, a wiry woman named Carla with the name tag pinned crooked, blinked hard, snapping into gear. Sir, oh God, put her down, put her down. She hit the overhead page button, her voice echoing tinny. Code blue, Bay 2, Trilon incoming. 2 orderlies burst from a side door wheeling a gurney with squeaky wheels, but they hung back a beat, eyes wide at the blood-soaked soldier holding a half-conscious kid like she was made of glass. Jack laid her out gentle as laying a flag on a casket, keeping one hand firm on the glove bundle against her side until Carla's gloved fingers took over. Pulse 58, BP dropping, 80/50. Carla muttered, her training overriding the shock. Pupil sluggish. Get her to CT stat. As they wheeled Emily through swinging doors, the metallic tang of blood hung thick in the air. Jack straightened, chest heaving, uniform ruined, navy wool stained crimson from collar to cuff. The silver Tomb Guard badge doled under the mess. The waiting room buzzed back to life, whispers rippling like aftershocks. Who the hell is that guy? Looks like he just walked out of a war zone. That kid, Jesus, she's tiny. The security guard, a burly ex-cop named Hank, with a buzz cut and a gut from too many donuts, stepped up slow, hand not quite on his holster. All right, buddy, easy. Name? Sergeant Jack Harland, 3rd Infantry, Old Guard. Jack's tone was flat, matter-of-fact, like reporting for roll call. He peeled off his kepi, setting it on the desk, water dripping from the brim. Hank eyed the uniform, the blood, the sheer size of the man. 6'4", 220. Easy, soldier, you Army. What happened to the girl? She yours? Found her in the park, off Arlington, dumped like trash. No ID, no nothing? She was coding out there, couldn't wait for an ambulance. Jack's jaw ticked, but his eyes stayed level, green and unblinking. The receptionist, a young kid fresh out of community college, fumbled for her computer. Sir, we need paperwork, insurance, relation to the patient. None. Just get her fixed. Jack wiped a bloody hand on his thigh, leaving a fresh streak. Before Hank could push, the doors banged open again. Detective Maria Reyes, Metro PD, coat flapping like wet wings, 45 Hispanic, built tough from her own stint in the Army Reserves. Reyes had been roused from bed by the hospital's mandatory call for unknown assault victims. Her dark hair tied back tight, badge glinting under the light. She zeroed in on Jack like a heat seeker. "Detective Reyes, you the one who brought her in?" "Yes, ma'am." Jack met her gaze. No flinch. Reyes jerked her head toward the side corridor, the family consult room that doubled as an interview space. Beige walls, sagging chairs, a coffee machine that hadn't worked since the Bush administration. "Let's talk. Hank, keep the area clear." They filed in, Reyes flipping open a notepad. Her partner, a rookie named Tyler, with a tablet and acne scars hanging back by the door. Jack sat straight back in the plastic chair